tell me a little bit about who you are, your work experience, and how that affected the creation of your company.
Well, I am currently the president of WSI Technologies. I was the 7th employee for then called Word Systems Incorporated. Started in 1977. I began with Word Systems as a family member for the owner at the time, Richard Barreto. I worked through the sales field. We had government clients and healthcare clients. I also worked in the service area for the company, servicing clients when they had issues with their equipment. So I've kind of swam in all the lanes of the company, family-owned business, and grew with the owner, learned from the owner as my mentor over 40 years.
All right, so tell me a little bit more about the company.
So, as I mentioned, we were given birth as a predominantly family-owned business. We were in the courtroom market and the healthcare market. Solutions such as courtroom recording for audio, dictation systems for healthcare and law firms. We were slow growth, started just in Indiana and Indianapolis. The owner had a sales background, so we grew the client list from scratch. And over time, we had steady growth, and mostly I attribute that consistent growth as we were treating our clients a lot like our family. So many of our clients stuck with us for a long time.
Okay, so from where did the idea of your product come?
One of the family members, Rick Barreto, made us aware of legislation that was occurring in the state of Illinois. This occurred, and actually an initiative by Barack Obama in the early 2000s to bring transparency to the investigative process and the interrogations that would take place without clear record of how those interviews took place. So there was legislation produced that required homicide suspect interviews in custody be recorded with video and audio for the record. That was in 2005.
Okay. So what inspired you to solve that problem, or your company to solve that problem?
Well, we saw an opportunity because the technology for that type of an interview was being fulfilled with consumer solutions like consumer camcorders and really low quality video and audio. So the early compliance with the legislation led to a lot of consumer products or security systems that weren't really made for the purposes of interviews. So we saw that as an opportunity and created a solution with the help of law enforcement feedback. Several law enforcement agents gave us their perspective, and we had to keep it simple and reliable for on-demand, high-quality video and audio so that they could get good record for the court system.
When you came on board, how big was the company? You said you were number 7, right?
Yes, very small on North Meridian Street, 6 employees, well under $1 million a year, more into the $500,000 a year. So very early at that time.
How did you come to name the company, or how did the company get its name? 'Cause
I believe there was a lot of thought around the technology that we provided was recording in a courtroom environment, keeping track of the things that were said, dictation systems that went into the record of a medical record or a document for legal purposes. So were a collection of words from audio to text. So that's where the name Word Systems came from.
Okay, so when did you first hear about Swan?
I heard about Swan through a referral from someone in the family that introduced us to Alex Morisoff here in Carmel. And this would have been in 2013, 2012. We were made aware of him and the services that Swan provided as an early introduction at that time.
Okay, what did you hire Swan to do?
So at first we had our solution for the interview rooms, we call that iRecord. That solution was designed to have all the equipment on premise, and they used a software client to control it, to make copies of the interview. We were looking for a thin client or web client to be used on our system, and we consulted Swan to help us build that, to connect to our system, and that was the very first engagement roughly around 2013.
Okay, so what were the parameters of the project?
Basically, we needed a more modern method for our clients to start, stop, make notations in the interview, retrieve the interviews for later review, make copies of the interview. The client that Swan built for us was compatible with different browsers which our clients use, so we gave our clients a lot more flexibility, helped us go to market better to have that flexibility.
Okay, why did you choose Swan over other development companies?
Well, we took our relationship with Swan to another level in 2015. We had our own developer in-house, and that person had retired and left the company and kind of left us all of a sudden. So we had this small relationship already built with Swan and the resources, so we pivoted to them for some help because we already knew who they were. They were starting to learn about our business. We trusted Alex. He sat in the living room with us, with the owner and myself and the owner's wife, discussing a very major move for us to know what to do when our only developer was gone. And here's a special product that we're about to grow further and we don't know what to do. And Alex, he might say, was our hero at the time. Gave us a comfort level with the resources that he has, that we could actually extend those resources to further develop and continue the iRecord product line.
Did you already have a technology stack, or did Swan assist you in choosing one? I know you said you kind of changed a little bit in there.
Good question. We had an old legacy platform that what we would call an analog process. And Swan quickly recommended we modernize that platform. And the platform was using older tools, older components, older software technology. So they recommended we basically rewrite the entire architecture from scratch. And that's what they did. And we launched our first system of that new platform. We call it the IP camera platform, or the digital platform versus the analog. I believe we launched that in May of 2016 was our first platform sale for the new design.
When you first started out, the Swan team was how big, and then after you kind of pivoted, how big did it then become?
Great question. We first started with them with one resource, and that was for the early project. But when we started the new design and the rewrite to become digital or IP-based system, we added more to the crew. We got a business analyst added to the crew, an architect. So I'm thinking we may have added 3 more to the team to help us with that complete rewrite, from design to analyzing the business case and the workflow for our clients to revisit how it's going to be used. So it was several weeks of a process of design and prepping to make the change.
Okay, and what was your biggest concern making that change?
You know, it was a pretty reliable system for almost 10 years. 9 or 10 years, that analog system was pretty darn reliable. Our clients would press the start button and it would record. They pressed the stop button and they were assured everything was working in between. This conversion from analog to digital or IP was significant, much more complex. So maintaining our reputation of a very stable, reliable system was very important.
How long have you worked with Swan then?
Well, since 2013, and we are continuing to work with them to this day with our next generation of components for iRecord.
Was the project you envisioned the one you received?
Yes. The big change there were a lot of unknowns, but at the end of the day, they were able to deliver, and it kept us more competitive, it kept us more modern, and it helped keep up with the needs of our clients. Had we not done that, we would have fallen behind. So it was very important advancement in the technology that we made, and Swan was a big part of that.
Okay. What was your favorite part about working with Swan?
I think getting to know them, the culture they have, you know, getting to know Alex a little bit, and then some of the team he has. They took a personal interest in what we do. They took the time to learn what we do, and just building a relationship with their development team. Sergey's been with them since the beginning, and he knows the mission that we have. He understands what the clients expect. So I've enjoyed that.
Okay, is there any part of working with Swan that you did not enjoy?
I will say early on, there was some language communications challenges working with a team that was offshore. It took a while to understand each other and communicate design and user workflows. A business analyst came in here locally that helped us build the proper communications techniques and stories of what we were looking for. So, but that was early on, and you know, it took us a few months to get through that, but what we did. And Swan was recognizing that challenge and stepped up to help us improve that.
When was your MVP released to market?
So the first release of the new generation was in 2015. The very first system we built on our own was 2005. At the time we introduced our Swan release digital platform, and to the end of last year, we probably tripled the revenue from our iRecord solution. It is now over 50% of our sales.
So have you since improved your product? You continue to improve your product with the help of Swan, right?
Yes. The movement we're making now that Swan is currently engaged with is providing a presence of our solution in government, in the government cloud, so that our clients again have more flexibility and freedom. At the same time, they enjoy the security of Microsoft Azure GovCloud. So talent that Swan has allowed us to continue to develop tools there, so our clients can easily and securely share interviews for investigation and collaboration in a much more advanced way. We're probably going to release that version of it in quarter number 1 of next year, 2024.
Okay. So has your company won any awards?
Well, it's interesting you ask. So in 2023, this year, in May, they celebrate National Small Business Month in May. And WSI Technologies had engaged the Indiana Small Business Development Center, and we got some grants from them for further development of our product, and also helping us with an export initiative of iRecord. And we had some successful traction in probably 5 other countries now that are using iRecord. And we were recognized in May of 2023 as Indiana Small Business Entrepreneur of the Year. So
Wow.
we're very proud and excited about that. And I'll have to say, Swan, they were there at the ceremony, a luncheon, because they participated as a very influential partner.
Okay, well, congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, so is Swan a professional company to work with?
They are. They are. And they maintain loyalty and sensitivity to our needs. And from top to bottom, they've always been a professional group to work with.
Okay, do you feel that Swan's prices are better or worse than are available elsewhere?
Better, although I haven't shopped around offshore, but I know local talent at the equivalent of what we're getting is much higher.
Okay, and what would you say to a company considering working with Swan on a project?
I would say that give some consideration to their needs, and certainly scope it out as to their expectations, and let Swan determine if they've got a match on their team. From my understanding, the team is pretty deep and a very diverse talent set. So economically, it could be a big win for them. It's very costly to have your own in-house development team, but they sort of treat you like they're your in-house team. So it's a special arrangement. I would certainly encourage companies that need that support to investigate Swan services.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to share?
No, I appreciate the opportunity.
All right, well, thank you so much for coming in.
Yeah.